God is my source, God is my power, God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. Yeah, yeah, yeah. God is my source, God is my power, God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. God gives me everything I need. God gives me everything I need.
All right, good morning, everybody. How we doing? So for those of you who may not know yet, I'm Reverend Michael McMorrow. I'm the Senior Minister, Spiritual Director here at our Center for Spiritual Living in Granada Hills, where we honor all who practice their beliefs in faith and love. And we'd like to do a little thing here called hugs and handshakes. So take it easy on the new folks. Don't freak them out with the hugs. That we take our You're slacking here, Rev. See, what happened was she lifted everyone to such a meditative experience that she forgot to blow the candles out. So be careful you don't spill the wax on yourself. So please help me welcome our presider and our assistant minister, Reverend Nancy Woods. Yeah, one of our favorite people around here. All right, so let's all take a deep, conscious breath. Exhale, just allow ourselves to surrender to this eternal now moment as we come together for our call to service, which we call lighting the flames of faith. And we perform this ceremony to promote the universal consciousness of life, which acknowledges that all peoples, all faiths, all sentient beings come from the one great universal presence, which we call spirit. that fundamental to this truth is a unifying nature of all religious thought and experience which we honor here this morning. So as Reverend Nancy lights the first candle, it's for the Tao, honoring the universal path of harmony and equilibrium, the natural way. We light the second candle for the shamanic traditions, honoring the beliefs and practices of all indigenous peoples, the way of primal spirituality. We light the third candle for Hinduism, honoring the path of knowledge, action, and devotion. We light the fourth candle for Judaism, honoring the ethical path of living by sacred law. We light the fifth candle for all forms of Buddhism, honoring the Four Noble Truths and the path of compassion. We light the sixth candle for all forms of Christianity, honoring the Christ consciousness as the path of love. The seventh candle we light for all forms of Islam, honoring the path of submission to the will of God as the highest calling. The eighth candle we light for the universalistic religion of Baha'i, honoring the path of unity and peace. The ninth candle we light for all forms of new thought, honoring the metaphysical path of mental healing through the practice of universal spiritual principles. The 10th candle we light for all those who are as yet unaware of the power and presence of Spirit in their lives and for the place we hold for them here at our center. And as Reverend Nancy lights the healing candle, please put silently into the light the names of anyone you wish to have experienced the healing flame of God's eternal love.
In this moment, in this place, I remember who I am, letting fear and worry fall away from me. I open my eyes and I see there is only love. There is only love. Love that heals, love that sets us free. There is only love.
And this love, this great love that we are sensing and feeling in this room today, the love of the universe, as it flows forth into expression through each one of us, as we recognize that this is the divine presence giving of itself to us, through us, and as us. And as we realize that we are the means and ways in which Spirit shows itself in everything that we do, say, or express, we rejoice because this is a morning and an hour and a time in which we open our hearts to receive that which is given. And in this process, we become a part of the divine flow as the words of the songs, the message that is delivered, the greetings, every aspect is the wonder of the universe saying yes to life. And as we are that life that has been given to, through, and for, we realize that this hour is a blessed hour because the avenue is great. The willingness is so far reaching. The understanding that the Spirit is giving us this opportunity opens us up to a greater ability to embrace our own individualized expression of the one. As I understand and know that this hour is an hour of greatness, because of God's presence before me. I rejoice and I appreciate the opportunity to experience Spirit in this way. And I love the love that it brings forth, as I love the opportunity to feel its presence consciously. So it's with great joy and appreciation I thank the Lord of the universe for all it's doing for me, as me, and through me. But it is who and what I am. And we know this truth together, for there is but one. And we know it and acknowledge it by saying, and so it is. Good morning. This morning, a little bit more. This morning I was sharing, and when I share, sometimes I share from the place of what comes out. So I wanted to share about the idea of playing with spirit. And I when I say play with spirit, I'm realizing that there is an adventure in this spiritual process that we are going through, this spiritual life that we are living. And I'm coming from a place of understanding that it is an opportunity to explore. It's a new adventure in life that is constantly new. I can remember in New York, we are studying, my original teacher was Dr. Barker. And so we are reading his book, and I'm reading his literature, and it made me think about all the richness that he poured into me, because I realized that a lot of the things I say and a lot of the things where I expressed is coming from him. I didn't realize how much until I reread this book. And one of the things that I remember very significantly, it was when I took the practitioner class with him. He said, now you go forth and do it your way. And that has stuck with me, and I have been playing with this spiritual material, looking at how it works. And recently I decided that that's what we're doing. We're playing with it to see how it's expressing and how it's coming through us. And one of the ways that I feel like it comes through me is that I can feel it, there's this energy that's flowing, and I especially feel it in nature. I feel sometimes that there's a communication with the trees and the grass and the music, and sometimes it's the water. We were in the meditation this morning. It was like all of a sudden we were all meditating, and this music got really loud, but it was like it was saying words to us. And I said, whoa, that's not happened before, but it was so beautiful. And one of the things I had experienced this morning, I went to Toscano Gardens, and I was going to walk around, and I looked at the tree, and I said, where the trees, there's just beautiful trees there. And I said, okay, trees, I want to walk around this place, so I need a little energy to help me do it. So I started walking, and 2 hours later, I was still walking. Before that, since I had the surgery, 20 minutes was the most, that was my peak. But I was walking for 2 hours, and I was feeling fine. I said, oh my God, y'all really know how to give energy. But it's that reality. Spirit is really here in all kinds of ways. And we all have this connection that is individual for each one of us. And playing with it and seeing how it experiences it flowing through you it's this life. It's a constant adventure. And to me, it's forever feeding us in some ways, as long as we allow it to flow. And everybody has their way of doing it. And I welcome you, each one of you, to, when you leave here today, look at how you can play with it. I don't know, just drive and say, okay, which way should I turn? And see what it tells you. And try going where it tells you to go. It's just fascinating to let Spirit flow and actually know it's flowing through you. And thank you for letting me share that.
From the distant universe, past the rings of Saturn's day, to our earth with oceans blue, or to a room with me and you. Had we been wide awake, or would we make the same mistakes? How can we act surprised if we had built our truths on lies? Is this the best that we could do? Is this the best that we can do? The best will make this day to be remembered in this way. With each sunrise we are free. What a gift this world can be. If only this we could agree. Have we forgotten love? Or even this now we're above? Are we afraid our hearts will break if we admit just what's at stake? Is this the best that we can do? Is this the best that we can do? The best will make this day to be remembered in this way. With each sunrise we are free. What a gift this world can be. If only this we could agree. Yeah. Are we afraid our hearts will break if we admit just what's at stake? Is this the best that we could do? Yeah. Is this the best that we can do? The best will make this day to be remembered in this way. With each sunrise we are free. What a gift this world can be. If only this we could agree. Is this the best that we can do? With our hearts and with our hands. Is this the best that we can do? With our oceans blue. This the best that we can do? With everything been given to you. Yeah, yeah. Is this the best that we can do? Yeah, yeah.
Good morning, everybody. Hi, how's everybody? Hello, live streamers. Where's the camera? Ken, I want to thank you personally for Rocktober. It was fantastic, right?
Thank you.
But I'll tell you what, man, you can stand alone anytime. That was fantastic. You're amazing. Thank you so much. That was really beautiful.
Thanks.
So I am here to highlight some of the announcements that are going on this month. In your program, you will find a flyer that looks like this, that has more of the announcements that I'm going to be highlighting. So if you're curious about what's going on here in our small but mighty community, check out this flyer in your program, and you'll see a lot of really exciting things going on. But these are the announcements that I'm supposed to highlight. So, and you'll see also the announcements on the board here. Thank you, Mike, for that. First of all, Abraham Hicks Group is taking 2 weeks off. So it will be resuming on Sunday, November 20th at 2 o'clock. Also, save the date. Sunday, December 4th is the Granada Hills Annual Holiday Parade. It's really fun. It's a fun day. And we transform the sanctuary into a little, I want to say gift shop, but it's not, a Christmas boutique. Thank you, Mrs. McMorrow. Thank you very much for that. A Christmas boutique. If you are interested in helping with the Christmas boutique, or if you have something that you'd like to present to the community for purchase, please contact Leslie Austin or Jeannie Starrett, and they are going to be, and Leslie's here actually, she's raising her hand and waving at everybody, so you can contact her or Jeannie to help out with that. And finally, the last announcement that I have to make is about smileamazon.com. So y'all shop on Amazon, right? Come on. Let's just see a show of hands. Who shops on Amazon? Most of us, right? So if you sign up or subscribe to smileamazon.com, a portion of your purchases, a small but mighty portion, 0.5%, comes back to the center if you arrange it that way when you subscribe. So please sign up for that right away, and do a lot of your holiday shopping online at Amazon so that the center can benefit from that. And I think that's all I have to say, so thank you.
So would you stand and say the Declaration of Principles with me? We believe in one universal spirit, manifested through all, natural and incarnated in us. We believe that the universal spirit is personal too, and reveals itself through everyone who recognizes its presence. We believe that our faith operates on a law of mind, which automatically manifests in our experience according to that faith. We believe in the unity of all life and in the immortality of the individual soul, forever expanding. We believe in the eternal goodness, the eternal loving kindness, and the givingness of life to all.
We let the love wash over us. We let it be. We let the peace wash over us. We let it be. We let the Lord wash over us. We let it be. We let the peace wash over us. We let it be.
So Ken wrote that first song there. How do you like that? Yeah. Let's all hold our phones up and go, more, more. Yeah, good stuff. Thank you. And I have a new design for my PowerPoint. Yeah. Yeah, Seahawks colors. Just letting you know. Got to get those subliminal messages in. How'd the Trojans do yesterday?
Well.
Oh, good. Great. All right, so the principle of life is our talk title. Today's November 6th. You changed your clocks? Yeah. Feeling rested? We're here. And so our global vision for this month, for the month of November, we see our world with an understanding of wholeness. So the idea that really the only thing we're healing is the idea that we're separate from God, right? And that we know, to the extent that we can know, right, our wholeness with the Creator. So I would be remiss, given that it is November, I would be remiss if I did not address the important work we have before us at this beginning of this new month of November. It's a decision that has ramifications that, if not handled properly, can impact our lives for years to come. Of course, I'm speaking to where to have Thanksgiving dinner, at the in-laws or the outlaws, where to go. It's such a decision. Now, seriously, before we get to the end of the month, we do have some work to do at the beginning. That being that the national election is on Tuesday. So I see no sense in pretending like it's not happening, nor pretending that it has not been the most contentious exchange I have witnessed. Though I was a kid in the Goldwater years, I suspect that that was done with a sense of decorum that we have not seen witness this year. It's been so bad this year that it has felt at times like it was on the brink of a fist fight. Actually, with the insults being hurled back and forth, as it sounded more like a build-up to a nasty drunken brawl. But at least drunks can blame it on the whiskey. And that's not going on here. Though the raw emotion and vitriol, we'll look at something nicer while we're speaking to this, though the raw emotion and vitriol has at times been on display. And unfortunately, like drunken arguments, a lot of stuff has been said this year that can't be unsaid. That many people and institutions have been mocked, ridiculed, disrespected in the most upfront, in-your-face kind of way, scapegoating immigrants, the 1%, corporations, Black Lives Matter in ways that look like they don't matter, and finally verbally assaulting women in ways that will make even the reddest neck blush all over. So, well, my friends, the time has finally come to do something about that. It's time to vote. But before we step into the secular confessional known as the voting booth, I would offer this reminder and this request. First, the reminder. Reminder that you are a religious scientist. And that whether you are here for the first time or for a long or have been a long-time member, if you have found your way to this place, you at least suspect, if not deeply know, that there is some part of life that this outward life is just an outward effect, and that there's more to life than what we can see. that as a religious scientist, you are at least willing to consider the idea that God really may be all there is on some level. That you, as a religious scientist, you are at least willing to consider the idea that you and I are responsible for our own experience. And in voting, you are, in effect, giving voice to the group conscience, to the collective conscience of what it means to be America. Not to be American, but what it means to be America. And in that consideration, then, what it means to be a citizen of the global community as well. So on some level, we must ask ourselves the question locally, nationally, globally, statewide, as the ancient ancestor Cain once said to the Lord, am I my brother's keeper? And that question we asked some 5,000 or 6,000 years ago, we're still arguing about. And as citizens of the religious science philosophy, we have a unique responsibility to look beyond what we currently see, to vision for a greater yet to be. And we do this within our own lives, of course. In fact, maybe that's where we do most of our work. We do within our families and for friends. But I wonder, do we take the time to imagine what kind of country do we want to live in? So that's what I want to talk about today. How can we use these principles that we speak to vision? And I'm going to encourage each one of you to step out of party and all this other jive. What do you want to vision for this country in which we live? In this country that we share? So when considering that, what kind of country do I want to live in? Isn't it easy to list the things we don't want? So remember when we went to our first religious science class, and the instructor said, what is it you want out of life? And everybody, well, to be happy. Okay, well, what's that look like? Well, many of us were stymied. Maybe one or two things. But then when we were asked, what don't you want in your life? That thing was as long as a roll of toilet paper. Nice long laundry list. What do we want? What don't we want? So think about our country. What do you vision for it? What do you vision? Well, maybe let's start with the United States. Start there. Unification. The United States. What does that look like? Well, maybe it looks like making room for everyone in the tent, regardless of race, creed, ethnicity, religion, including the disparate opinions. Or it's your vision, maybe it doesn't. In your vision, how are people treated? Your wife, your husband, your sons, your daughters, your neighbors, other races and religions, rich or poor, how are they treated? In this country that you are visioning, what do you want the air to smell like, to look like? What do you want the water to taste like? What about what you eat? The medicines you ingest? Who has to go without? Does anyone have to go without? And what's your vision going to cost you? Will you pay 5% more in taxes to cover it? 20%? Nothing? I want a refund? Who is working in this world that you are visioning? Who's working? Are our friends in that 50 to 60-year-old demographic, are they still even in the workforce? Are they being paid a fair wage for their years of service? Are our teachers being paid fairly? Is our gardener being paid fairly? Have our grandkids made it out of Starbucks yet? Are they still interning because they won't hire them? So how do you want career and employment to look different than it currently does? What do you vision for this country? As a country, are we quick to go to battle? As a person, individually, am I quick to go to battle? What is your highest vision for the United States of America? And when you consider your highest vision for the U.S., right, so you have some sense of this. So now, was your next thought, that could never work. That's way too Pollyanna. The world doesn't work that way. And if you're thinking like that, again, I would remind you that the law always says yes. So you see what I'm getting at. We often work with this teaching on what's right before us. Gimme, 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 gimme. But the same power that produces the effect in our life as an individual is the same life that's demonstrating itself collectively. This is what we call race consciousness. So you see what I'm getting at. There is a principle of life, of the eternal spirit that knows only to express more life. If we assume God to be the principle of life, the principle of life cannot produce death without destroying itself. The will of life has to be life. The will of God is to be itself as its creation. It's another way of saying it. Therefore, we should interpret the will of God to be everything that expresses life without hurt. Holmes goes on to say that this seems to be fair, logical, sane, and an intelligent criterion, anything that will enable us to express greater life, greater happiness, greater power, so long as it does not harm anyone, must be the will of God for us. As much life as one can conceive will become part of our experience. That's what we teach here. Now, this has some interesting ramifications. For instance, what is moral behavior? Right? One man's morality is another one's wild party. Right? Or maybe I said that the wrong way. So, again, in religious science, this is what I take from this, that we can stand confident in our ability to bring forth any vision, however great or small, when we consciously align with equanimity, for the will of God is everything that expresses life without hurt. If we are aligning with equanimity towards all beings, we're going to be all right. So for review then, how does this happen? What are we teaching around here? It appears to be like the subconscious side of ourselves, right? So there's this part of ourselves that breathes without us thinking about it. It breathes us, it beats our heart, it often controls reactions and emotions until we learn bit by bit how to get that harnessed a little bit. That we recognize that there's a tendency to our thinking that continues to display itself for good or ill. This is at the individual level, yes? As we become aware of these tendencies, we then shift and lift one thought at a time until we create a tendency of thought that becomes anchored in our subconsciousness. And this new tendency of thought has now been what Holmes called subjectified. So when we think about the obstacles that get in our life, they often look like this big boulder, right? And yet, through affirmative prayer, using affirmative prayer as our lever then, we can shift and lift and move the stuff out of the way so that we can get on with the business of living, to express our greatest life right now. And not only that, but there's an infinite power, presence, creativity, and intelligence that is light and love and all the good things of life, longing to express itself by means of that process. That spirit is not bound by precedent. It's not bound by what has already passed. And for spirit, it's just infinite possibilities for good. And in our ability to align with that flow, we can demonstrate a different kind of light according to the different kind of life, according to the tendency of our thought. This is what Holmes called a subjectified thought. And this is the most revolutionary idea in the science of mind teaching. In the subjective mind of man and woman, we find a law obeying our word, the servant, right? So he even calls it the servant of his spirit. It is the mental law of our being and the creative factor within us, this universal subjective side of ourselves. Within us is a mental law working out the will and purposes of our conscious thoughts. This can be no other than the individual use of a greater subjective mind, which is seat of all mental law and action, and is a servant of the eternal spirit throughout the ages. So here's a generalized way to say it. That if God is everywhere present and all-knowing and all-powerful, there's only one way that can happen, and in some trans-dimensional kind of way. And so what we are postulating is the way that is done is that it's spiritual. Spiritual, bound not by this physical plane in any way. And that it is energy. And so in a very real way, in an individualized way, we are using, in an unconscious way, the mind of God to demonstrate our life. Now that can be kind of a, whoa, man, where are you coming up with that stuff? But I think if you give it some time and contemplate it within the quietude of your own thinking, you will find that it makes sense. And that it can be adapted to any religious system that has universality as an understanding within it, which all the mystic traditions do, by the way. It's just the priests and ministers who get in the way of it. Not me, of course. So, the servant of the eternal spirit throughout the ages. Marvelous as the concept may be, it is nonetheless true that man has at his disposal in what he calls subjective mind, a power that seems to be limitless. Man's thought, falling into his subjective mind, merges with the universal, with the God mind, and becomes the law of his life through the use of one great law. So this is how it works in your life. This is how it works in the whole human race. That the sum total of our collectivized subjective mind merging with the universal demonstrating the tendency of thought of our collective consciousness. So that's kind of a like, oh, well, we still have work to do. Right? And yet, if we consider, we don't have to go back that far. World War II, World War I, the Napoleonic Wars, the Crimean Wars, Attila the Hun. The world was a much more violent place than it is today. It's just in our face because of social media. But there's a lot of peace out there. Yes, we have work to do. It's in our face. But I'm saying this because can you see, as a part of this universal collective, can you see how imperative it is for you each one of you, and for me to have a vision for our country where the will of God is everything that expresses life without hurt. Can you see that? That each life, shifting and lifting thoughts of division and discord to bring forth the blossoming of possibilities for all peoples. So consider for a moment those white men of European descent, flawed in their ways, that we know of today as the founding fathers, that in spite of their differences, they dared to vision this great American experiment. That just a little over 200 years ago, white men declared on this continent a new nation conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men and now women, all men and women are created equal. First time in history. In many ways, we have given witness to the last remnants of the great Civil War in this last year. Do we see that? It's like the last gasp of a dying way of being. Testing whether that nation or any nation so conceived and so dedicated can long endure. That we are met on a great battlefield of that war, that we have come to dedicate a portion of that field as a final resting place for those who here gave their lives, that nation might live. And it is altogether fitting and proper that we should do this. But in a larger sense, we cannot dedicate, we cannot consecrate, we cannot hallow this ground. The brave men and now women, living and dead, who struggled here have consecrated it far above our poor power to add or detract. The world will little note nor long remember what we say here, but it can never forget what they did here. It is us, it is for us, the living, rather, to be dedicated here, to be dedicated here to the unfinished work which they who fought here have thus far so nobly advanced. It is rather for us here, you and I, right now, here dedicated to the great task remaining before us, that from these honored dead, our ancestors, from our ancestors we take increased devotion to that cause for which they gave the last measure of devotion. That we here highly resolve that those dead, the dead of all the wars, of all the conflicts, the 4 dead in Ohio, everyone, Edgar Mevers, is that his name? Dr. King, Bobby Kennedy, that these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation, under God, shall have a new birth in freedom, and that the government of the people, by the people, and for the people, shall not perish from the earth. To me, this is a sacred trust. And I don't know that it has ever been any more important that you take up that mantle than it is this year. There has been a lot of smack and jive being kicked around. And so I think it's important that you stand and be counted. And to understand that each vote is a demonstration of consciousness. That each vote is like a prayer. Knowing a new reality, a new vision, for good or ill, So what as we, let's just take a deep breath on that. And so for our work today, how to go about that sacred trust, maybe just getting out that ballot finally and taking a look at it in a conscious way. And for those of us who are legal residents, our work today can be to hold a greater vision, a vision of life for this grand idea known as the United States. That we can know this day that there is a possibility for the United States of consciousness, and that we call forth a country built on equanimity for all, mutual respect regardless of race, of gender, ethnicity, religion. A country that admires and embraces the diversity of its peoples, even as we may argue as to how best bring this vision forth. So we check our own thinking this day in this way. And feel the many blessings of life. Yogananda once said, if we have incarnated in this country, then we have a pretty good consciousness. Right? So let's step into that mandate. Allow ourselves to be counted, to feel the many blessings of life, and how we can bestow those blessings not only on ourselves and those that we love, but to our greater community as well.
This land is your land, this land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. As I was walking that ribbon of highway, I saw above me that endless skyway. I saw below me that golden valley. This land was made for you and me. I've roamed and rambled and followed my footsteps to the sparkling sands of her diamond desert. And all around me a voice was sounding. This land was made for you and me. This land is your land, this land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. When the sun came shining and I was strolling, and the wheat fields waving and the dust clouds rolling, as the fog was lifting, a voice was chanting. This land was made for you and me. As I went walking, I saw a sign there, and on the sign it said no trespassing. But on the other side it didn't say nothing. This land was made for you and me. This land is your land, this land is my land. From California to the New York Islands, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. In the shadow of the steeple, I saw my people. By the relief office, I've seen my people. As they stood there hungry, I stood there asking, is this land made for you and me? Nobody living can ever stop me as I go walking that freedom highway. Nobody living can make me turn back. But this land was made for you and me. This land is your land, this land is my land. From California to the New York Islands, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. This land was made for you and me. This land was made for you and me.
Yeah, before Bob Dylan, there was Woody Guthrie.
Yeah.
Yeah, good song. Thank you. All right, so as we prepare our gifts for the offering, we'll call our ushers forward.
I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed.
I am so blessed. I'm so grateful for all that I have.
I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed.
So going within just for a wee bit longer, let's recognize and know together that the gifts presented here this morning are a demonstration of consciousness that knows and knows that it knows that God is our source, our substance, our supply. And so from the generous heart from which these gifts have been offered here this morning, we, representing the heart of this community, accept these gifts with deep respect and love, as we know together they go forth to heal, to prosper, and to bless the vision and mission of this Center for Spiritual Living, but also everyone here this morning. And for anyone connected to this center in any way, that we know this blessing for our friends in our community of Granada Hills, our city of Los Angeles, our state of California, our United States of America, all of its churches, temples, mosques, schools, universities, the people who attend them, the people who support them, for our planet as well, that we know that all of it is a demonstration of that universal subjective mind of God that's always saying yes. And to the extent that we understand and know this to be so, we see it demonstrating in all ways, great and small. This lifts our hearts. We feel a sense of grace and gratitude that empowers us into ways of spiritual living that lift ourselves and others. And we are grateful with a big bang and a howdy-do. So together we know this by saying, and so it is. So hopefully nobody got bloodied over there. Let's get the kids in here. So what up? Who's our spokesperson? Why don't you both stand up? Yeah, come on, man. Show off your little blue camis there.
It's brought them. I'm not talking.
Okay. So what'd you do?
Today we learned about being connected with God.
Being which, hon?
Connected with God.
Connected with God. I need to connect with my hearing aids, don't I? That's very nice. Do you have any tips for us? Don't want to put you on the spot. Oh, you got something?
There's no spot where God is not.
Ooh, nice. Yes. Good job. All right, good reminder for all of us. All right. What is this?
I just have a quick. We pass the papers, so when like all the people we pass to a paper, and then the other paper will come to the other paper, and then we turn around, and then another quick thing that I want to share with you guys is I'm going to be in a board helping with these clients. I'm in a new place, and hopefully the board is going to vote, but I'm not sure yet. So. Okay. And you are working at Trader Joe's? Yes.
Yes.
During the holidays, starting Wednesday.
All right, great.
So.
All right, thank you. So thank you all for being here today. Lovely to have you. Get out there on Tuesday, do your thing.
So
Pray us out.
As practitioners surround this room with love, and we place in this center any of those that we want to experience a great expression of love in their life in any way. And as we recognize that infinite intelligence truly is everywhere present, and we are grateful for this opportunity to recognize it, declare it, and embrace it. And as we know that it is the cornerstone of our life, we allow ourselves to go forth from this place to know that we are means and ways for spirit to express life. So that light that is in our heart is going to shine so bright that there is another life that will awaken to this awareness that spirit is within. And for this, we are all grateful. And we unite in saying, and so it is.
Please stand for the peace song. Let there be peace on earth